Aloha, it's Jim Channon from the Bioport. We recently created a program that was called Looking Back, Looking Forward. And it was about how to archive your life. And the more I've gotten into this, the more I realize people have no real way of diving into their original, most present self. It's just not something we ever took time with. It isn't included in school. You're told not to have an ego. Well, does that mean you don't get to have a constitution, or you don't get to have a personality, or you don't have to have a character? Because after all, if you're not driving around in some person who knows how to stand up for something, or knows what they care about, you really are totally at the effect of life, just like a Barbie doll, or worse. So when the questions come about who you are, I just had some fun musing about which questions popped me into a better understanding of who I am right now. When I asked a group of men the other night who were bemoaning the death of a friend, and the friend didn't even leave a note, but they did a suicide thing, and I said, well, now what's the problem here? If you wanted to leave, wouldn't it be courteous to leave something about why you left, based on who you were and what was working or what? But the thing is, most people don't even know who they are. Now that sounds unbelievable. That sounds ridiculous. How could that be possible? But you are not the place you were born. You are not just the name that you have. You are not the place you went to school. You are not the degree you have. That's not who you are. Who you are is actually different from other people in some way that only you are going to get to figure out. So my first question for you to ask yourself is, how are you different? What is it about the way you see the world, you process the world, you deal with the world, you contact the world, that's unique? And if you can find the time to answer that question, it could be several different ways. You could be different in several different ways. Are you actually valuing those ways? And are you pursuing the improvement of how you're doing that? I mean, most everybody has a unique way of seeing, feeling, sensing the world. Some way more intuitive than others. Some very obvious. Some just listen. Some can see very well. Some feel very well. Well, what's the little bundle in there that you use to figure out what's going on? What's the little bundle you have to then get out and make contact with the world and get something done? Or talk to somebody who can help you, or organize a team, or write a plan, or give a talk. You know, how do you stand your ground? And based on what? You know, what is the part of you that knows what's worth fighting about, what's worth standing up on your hind legs about, what's worth saying, no, I'm sorry, that's a boundary. My vision of the world is X, and that doesn't fit my vision, and I hope you won't impose this idea on me because I don't believe in it. Where do you stand? Why did you come here this time? Can you ask yourself that question quietly? Wait for an answer. Most people, it doesn't take more than 10 seconds to get the answer. It's not a complicated answer, but good grief, it can actually establish the higher purpose for your whole life. Most people come to help X, Y, or Z, to serve in some way, but some people come to simply awaken. And those people are called mystics, but we don't have any place in the modern industrial world for mystics. I mean, who gets to just pilgrimage around and seek out wisdom about spiritual world? Because, gosh, you had to be in the 16th century to do that. You can't do that now. No, you can do that right now. And it's perfectly okay to say you're in transition, but if you're really seeking something specific, like wisdom, like spiritual advice, and you have the wherewithal to go pick out various places to get that. Well, be clear about that, you know. When you're being yourself, what do you look like? How do you dress? Do you have one photograph that really you think is you? Or the you that you aspire to be? Think about that. Do you dress yourself according to what you really believe? You know? What peak experiences have you had that kind of popped you into another state of being? You got over the fact that you were just trying to be you know, when you grow up they say, well, what is it you're going to be? Like it can only be one thing. Well, excuse me, it can be 15 things. It's 67 things for me. And I've bundled some of those in little sets that make me have at least 12 ways of making money in the world. So start thinking like that, because as we get away from the industrial model, because it's basically done its job already, and we move out into the countryside, and we start to have more choice in our life, and we don't go to work from 8 to 5, it's really nice to have 6 or 7 things you can offer people around you. You can still make some money for. What's your favorite piece of art? Or what kind of art do you surround yourself that reminds you of your heroes? In fact, if you just go through the web and knock out the names of some of the people that you've respected, and then you know, use one of your programs to download their picture. Put those pictures together. Study those things. Write a little something about the people who influenced you. And then pick, say, 4 other photographs from somewhere in your files that reveal you as different. Do you realize how many times people say, well, did you have a grandfather? And you say, yes, he was living when I was alive. Well, who was he? And you say, well, he was about 69 when he died, and he lived in Chicago. I'm sorry, that's not a good answer. And it's probably as much his fault as it is yours. But you don't want your kids to not know who you were when you pass away. You don't want all those photographs and writings and things you've collected to just be stuffed under the house till they mildew. That's not kind. Because they'll worry about all that stuff until it rots, and then they'll feel bad about it. So take a stand. Find out. What's the photograph of your favorite place to be? What calls you to actually go inside and ask deeper questions? Where's the most perfect place you ever spent time that filled you up? So where do you keep your favorite things? When you die, is it going to be nicely organized in one trunk, maybe? Or are you going to just let people sort through it? Not kind. Not responsible. And means you didn't know who you were. How many lifelong friends do you have that you have photographs of? And do you have a place in your book for those people? When you think of what wealth means, when you get to an age where you're about to leave or could leave at any moment, I think you'll find maybe the most wealth you have is how many lifelong friends you have, because that will be what you're left with, or not. So who are those friends, and what are you doing about honoring them, making them part of your life, introducing your children to them, for example? And if there are 3 stories in your life that define who you are, get good at telling those stories and put them on a video, put them on a DVD, digitize them, send them to YouTube so somebody else stores them for you. And how about your list of skills and hobbies? Not all of them, but the ones that you feel that you had a unique connection with. I mean, people who make things and fix things and do computer work very often have 3D minds. Well, nobody ever said in school that a 3D mind was very important, because it's all run by talking heads. They all do 2D streaming information. You might have some honors or gifts that really are worth revealing. The watch you got for serving your company for 40 years probably not going to mean much to your kids. But an old walking stick or a special valise or a hat of some kind might be. And then take some time and write out your greatest adventure, or the greatest adventure you hope to have before you leave. Now these are just suggestions, and as you go through this video, feel free to hit the pause button, have a piece of scratch paper there, and start with the first answer that comes to your mind. Just get a rough idea. And when you finish that, take that list and turn around and practice with a friend and tell them who you are based on that list, that rough list, that pencil list, and get a sense of your character. And then polish it until you can leave your kids, a great 20-minute video that can be played at your funeral. God forbid you should give it the responsibility to somebody else to say who you were. That's why everybody mumbles at funerals and cries instead of being empowered by the fact that somebody got to the place they were going to go and they left probably maybe under their own terms. See what I'm saying? And there'll be one more video in this series about how to write your autobiography, and that'll have a few other questions of value. But you are something besides where you grew up and what jobs you've had. Trust me on this. Don't let your family down by leaving them nothing. And don't let yourself down by not trying out a character that you can relate to and say, wow, I rode that horse through life. I didn't just let stuff happen to me. I know who I am. I know what I stand for. Think about it. Go planet.